Are we on? Oh, yeah. So I mean, it's even getting nuttier since we came off the air 23 hours ago. I can't. Starting with just after, not too long after the show ended, the NBA canceled the rest of their season, and everybody's just been running around like a bunch of scared ninnies, fear mongering, all the other stuff. We're gonna have a lot of fun on the show today. We're gonna have Eddie George coming in. Usually, hopefully at 5:15, he's vacationing at the highbrow cinema thing going on in Ottawa. I wonder why that hasn't been canceled out. Maybe he is. Who knows? We'll find out about that. We'll be hooking up with Facebook Live here in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fly guitar music, signaling in another broadcast day on Newswire Daily, starting with Facebook Live and YouTube as we do at 5 o'clock, and then we'll roll into KMET 1490 at 5:30, like we do every Monday through Friday. In here with the producer extraordinaire Jesse, pushing all the buttons, getting us out on the old airwaves, and like I said when we fired up on YouTube, I was hoping the crazy was going to be done, or we were over the top. Let's say we were at the top of the bell curve last night. Oh, was I wrong on that one? Not too long after we got off the air at 6 o'clock, and I think Trump addressed the nation at 6 o'clock. About 6:30, the NBA canceled their season. That sent off a fire. I mean, NASCAR cancels, soccer, NHL, there's now local events are getting canceled right now. Disneyland's closing at least till the end of the month. I cannot, I, it, I cannot for the life of me figure out what people's problem are. I just heard the report just before we came in. There are 198 cases documented in California of this coronavirus. And we are having an all-out panic over this. There's been 26 deaths in the United States versus 18,000 of the regular flu. And we're having this big, meltdown in 24 hours. Even some of the sane people who were not worried about this are now panicking over this. It's ridiculous. We're going to have the list later on. Since Y2K, and if anybody put it in the comments or whatever, Y2K, the electricity grid was going to shut down. Everybody in the hospital was going to die because if you were hooked up to the machines, they were not going to go. Computers were not going to work. How were they going to work? The water supply, everything was going to just shut down. Not one documented case of anything at the year when we went from 19999 to 2000, which was supposed to set off all the computers and ruin society as we know it and cause death and destruction and wipe out society as we know it. Not one came about. I mean, we've had SARS and anthrax and this and that, and every year there's always been something. It's like the ninnies that talk about we were going to freeze to death. Now we're going to all burn up because of this and of that and the other thing over climate change. First it was global warming, which there is no such thing. So they changed it to climate change, which how can you argue that? Today, it's raining like cats and dogs in Inland Empire. You know, the climate changes every freaking nanosecond. You can't argue that. Has, will, and continue to do that. It's like there has, will, and continue to be viruses. Has, will, and continue people will die from them. Mainly because they don't do the very simple things, like wash your hands, cover your mouth when you cough. That's very simple. I do a few things. I never get sick. Well, very rarely. Shouldn't say never. I do once in a while. I did get the flu here a couple months ago for one day. This is why. Cayenne pepper. Coffee. You take the lid off your coffee or tea or whatever you're drinking. This is some miracle stuff. You pour it in there every time you drink, and voila! It chases away all the bad stuff. You're looking at 6 foot, 153 pounds of walking human experiment on this. Now, I'm not a medical doctor or give medical advice, but I can just tell you what I do. Garlic. Eat a few cloves of raw garlic. What do you think penicillin's made of? Of the ampicillin that's in these garlic bulbs. There is not a darn. I mean, if you are this whole disease, kids can have it. They hardly even get any symptoms. They can spread it. The average, there's 1,000 deaths in Italy. The average age of the people that have died in Italy are 80 years old. Average. That means half of them were over 80. I don't think anybody under 65 has died from this. If it has, it's been a very rare case. And go to Italy, they don't wash their hands. They don't cover their mouth when they cough. So, yeah, you're more susceptible to dying over this stuff. Roll up the MIT article that I had, if you can, Jesse, on that. Massachusetts Institute of Technology. There's probably 2 premier scientific engineering research universities in the United States, if not the world. One of them is Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The other is Caltech out here in Southern California. This is their technology review article. Here's how long coronavirus can live in the air and on packages. The contagious coronavirus can survive on cardboard delivery box at least a day and even longer on steel and plastic. The big question of the outbreak on COVID-19, which has already infected more than 110,000 people, this is worldwide out of 7 billion. See, they don't put that little tidbit in there. The germ that causes and moves so easily between the people, although many viruses and germs can survive on ordinary objects, zeroing in on the precisely how long coronavirus could help stem the academic. Scroll up a little bit, yeah. To help answer this, U.S. researchers are doing that, so scroll up to the main part of this. Oh, as the screen goes kaboomy. There we go. The germ survived longest on plastic and stainless steel, where it clung for as long as 3 days, according to Vincent Munster. I wonder if he's any relation to Herman. And the team at the National Institute of Health and Virology Laboratory at Hamilton, Montana, described their experiments in a new reprint. Suggested hospital equipment as a potential vector for the disease, or the strap hanger pulls on subway. So far, however, there is no, and I repeat, no definitive proof that the virus is actually spread via inanimate objects. We don't know if you can pick up COVID-19 from the contaminated surfaces or inanimate objects at this point. That's the bottom line, says Marilyn Roberts, a microbiologist at the University of Washington School of Public Health. So it can lay on a box, on plastic for 3 days, on cardboard for a day, on those stainless steel rails on the subway, or your stainless steel pots at home, or whatever, and who knows what. But we don't even know if it's as contagious on that. What we do know is people are losing their collective minds. We're canceling everything right left. The first restaurant is closed in California over this back with coronavirus again because people ain't coming in. The amount of loss of income damage. What if you're at the Toyota Center down in Ontario over there, the big 10,000 seat arena there in Ontario Mills Mall? They canceled all the events for the rest of the month. You know what? If you're working there, you no longer have a job, or your job is out. What are you doing? You're sitting at home for 2 weeks, not getting any money. On and on. Disneyland's closed at the end of the month. Local events are getting canceled right and left. Universities are shutting down, but K through 12 is mainly running. So all you parents, if you're all in a tither about this, your kids can spread it, but they might not, if they do get infected, it might not be affecting them. It hasn't been so far there's any evidence that I've seen. But they're sitting there, air conditioning, heating classrooms with that recirculating air going on all the time, da-da-da-da-da. Well, what if they're the ones that are carrying the virus that gives it to Grandpa who smokes and is 80 years old and his immune system and he dies? That's about as convoluted as the logic is in here. I mean, I can see that. And if you are in an enclosed building, I mean, I can even see some of the logic to these arenas and stuff like that, where you're in an enclosed building or you're in circulating air, where the air conditioning is recirculating the air, or you're on an air. What if you're on an airplane? Those are fantastic dormitories for viruses and disease and whatever else goes on. So it's crazy. People are just losing their freaking minds over this stuff. There's, like they said, 18,000 people in the United States so far this year have died of the flu, and only 26 of coronavirus. And we're in this mass panic over coronavirus. We're canceling things right and left, and people are saying epidemics and da-da-da-da-da-da. We're a totally different. We're a totally different society on that. We do wash our hands. Hopefully, people will pay more attention to this. Another great thing, oil of oregano. Take the cap off. Little drop on your tongue. It tingles a little bit. Big deal. Again, like I say, I'm 6 foot, 153 pounds, a walking experiment, how you don't prevent all this stuff. Or it doesn't happen. You want to know why? Why don't you ever get sick? Well, I don't go out there and act stupid like the Italians that don't wash their hands or cover their mouth. They're dying in the Chinese and whatever. Yeah, when this stuff goes, they die a lot. Well, take responsibility for yourself. But we have, as we usually do on Thursday, we got that crazy guy with the lazy eyes from HEMET iNews. Gives us all the updates on that. And I think he's doing he's vacationing at some sort of highbrow place, which, according to the legend, would be totally out of character for Mr. Eddie George. Welcome back to the show.
What's up, folks? It's that crazy guy with lazy eye again with HEMET iNews. How you doing, Roy?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. I think the world is collapsing around us.
I think the world's coming to an end, dude. I mean, this coronavirus deal, I'm so sick of hearing it on our news pages and everything.
Yes.
And it's just like, oh, my God, But I'm going to end up doing a story about this coronavirus deal because, we found some literature and everything back several years ago, there's a book that came out. I'm still investigating this all yet to get all the facts and details, so don't knock me in the head, if I get anything wrong yet. But, there was actually a book that came out documenting in the future of 2020 that there's going to be a big virus that's going to basically come out and shut the economy down. And, now look what we have. I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but this thing is really weird. It's making people, not only it's giving you fevers and it's giving you the coughs and what other symptoms it's got, but I've noticed the pre-symptoms of this coronavirus, Roy, is a little bit of what they call active stupidity.
Yes.
I mean, people are going stupid over this. You think toilet paper is something that you never have to worry about going out with. And now you can't even find it in stores, and to tell you the truth, I'm not really worried about it. It's just a world panic. Everybody's going stupid over it. This is going to be, what are they worried about the toilet paper? I checked the symptoms on this. It don't give you diarrhea.
Yes.
So, come on, folks. And if we do run out of toilet paper because, people, get quarantined or whatever, all you got to do is just get some corn on the cob after you get done eating dinner. It was good for George Washington. It's good for me, It's just reality, folks. And
I said, people, if you're going to take, if I go to the store and there's no toilet paper, I said last night, I'm going to just drop my trowel out in the middle of the street, get a garden hose, and wash it out. Is that what you want to see? Is that what all you hoarders want to see? Keep it up.
Thanks to you, I have to do this outside, but I'm going to go organic. I believe in organic all the way.
There you go. A la natural.
Right now, we have we have plenty of trees up here that's got leaves. Hey, there you go. Use a handful of leaves and you're fine.
Yeah.
Just don't use poison ivy and you'll be okay. I promise.
Yeah, I'd hate to get the poison ivy up in that track, man. Now that would really ruin your day if you.
That would ruin my whole week.
Yes,
not just my day.
You would know what pain and suffering is all about if you pulled that little trick.
You got that right.
It's crazy, and we're going to read the list later on, starting with Y2K, which the world was going to come to an end. Not one of the things predicted in Y2K came about, and every year, whether it was SARS or anthrax or this disease, there was going to be some sort of epidemic that was going to wipe out civilization as we know it, and it has never happened. And that is what I knew it, and as soon as I got off the show, about a half hour after the show last night at 6 o'clock, and as soon as I heard the NBA canceled the season, I automatically knew. I said, people are going to go absolutely nuts.
They are, they are. And then, they also just canceled Disneyland, too.
Yes, till the end of the month, and at least till the end of the month.
Yeah, it's hurting everybody.
Yes.
Like I say, we're actually up here at the Idlewild Film Festival, and it's, this is, they've been doing it since 2010. And the Idlewild International Film Festival is known of a huge film festival of actors, producers, and artists and film directors from over 60 countries come to Idlewild. And they feature their new short films or their new films. And then they get judged. We're going to be holding a award ceremony Sunday. We got to find another place to do it now because due to the fact we were going to hold it over there at Golden Air Productions at the Scientology property, but now this corona scare's got everybody on nerve. They really don't want nobody on their property. They were talking about checking everybody's temperatures as you're coming into the guard gate, but now they backed out. So we're over here, our whole team here is trying to figure out, okay, where can we go to hold this, that holds at least, between 250 to 400 people. And we were supposed to have over 1,000 people, but a lot of the filmmakers, from China and Japan and even other countries, they're too scared to even come out. You're like, hell no, I'm not coming. There's all other people going to be there. We're not coming. So they got films that submitted into the festival, but they're not here. So it's really affected the film festival this year.
That's what's the crying shame about all this is there should be no. There is no, at least in my book, my opinion, there is no reason that we should be, that that 99.999% of this stuff should be going on. It's like the mass hysteria panic of that. And again, I mean, I don't know if it's society that's turning like this or what. I mean, we've had all this, but I mean, it just seems like, we're just falling apart at almost nothing. I mean, we're just going crazy.
Yeah, people are questioning, where can I go to get tested, and is it free? If insurance is going to pay for it. Because I was talking to some of the filmmakers here, and they said that they're in their country, they're having, the scare as well too, and they want to go get tested. You go in and they test you, and they get a bill for $3,000. So I mean, what's the low class people are going to do?
Well, and I was hearing some of the reports today. They're totally unprepared. The tests they're giving you to even detect it are faulty, or they don't have the right medicine to do it, and it's coming from Maryland, Germany, and France, and they can't get it. They were totally unprepared, and this is my big thing. And I mean, I do it all the time. You can't depend. If you depend on your government, this is what you're going to get. You should be dependent on yourself of this
That's
stuff,
right.
and use some common sense on that.
What's that? What's that? Nobody knows what that is.
Yes, we're losing it. Every year we keep chipping away at burying and putting in the grave the common sense, the natural inborn, God-given or natural right you have to be a free person and and live your life as you see fit.
I agree with you, but a lot of people can't do that, Roy. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start boxing up common sense and sell it at Walmart, and do a special. If you tell them the crazy guy with the lazy eye sent you, you can get buy one, get one free or something. But just, limited 2 boxes, per person. That way everybody don't get all of it, and then they like to do the toilet paper,
Yeah, we'll have fist fights over the common sense like they were in the Costco's at that. I mean,
hey, right.
In Walmart. You had the one, I think it was on HEMET News in the Walmart. I mean, day after day, the shelves are empty where there used to be paper towels and hand sanitizer and toilet paper, and there's nothing.
The government's actually, right now, the government's even preparing themselves because they're ordering semi-truckloads of water and toilet paper and stuff. Because I got a friend of mine, he drives semi-truck, owner-operator, and he just picked up, they're running toilet paper and water back and forth to the government right now because they're buying it by the semi-loads. So we can blame the government because we don't have no toilet paper because they're ordering it all.
Yes, they're even stuck on stupid. And I mean, and it goes to show you they were not prepared. All that they even got a report where it really broke out in the United States up at Seattle. Same thing. They weren't prepared. They had no idea what to do in these situations, and then people start dying and they're panicking over that stuff. I mean. And this is what you want. And overall, those of you that want more government control or ask, why isn't the government doing that? No. This is the reason you don't want that. You should have, a couple rolls, a couple bags, 12 bags of toilet paper. When you get down to one, you go buy another one. So if something happens, you're prepared like with water and everything else.
Yeah, what a lot of people's scare is, Roy, is they're worried that the cities are going to start quarantining everybody. You can't go nowhere. You can't go shopping, so they run out of toilet paper, so they're going to end up, what are we going to do, And if they quarantine you, what is the quarantine, 15 to 30 days?
Yeah, 14 days, yeah, they can...
These people are hoarding toilet paper and everything that'll last 15 to 20 years. They're not 15 to 20 days. Come on, folks, what are you thinking,
Yeah, you're walking out with shopping cart piled 3 foot over the top with toilet paper going out the door. I don't know about you or anybody else, but I mean, like you say, that's like a 6-year supply of toilet paper you're walking out for something that may have, like you say, if you did get quarantined, and if they quarantine you in a hospital, what's that toilet paper going to do that's sitting in your house for you?
Right. And even if they quarantine you at home or quarantine the city, even people say, oh, well, we'll lose water. They're going to shut the water off. I ain't worried about that anyways because I don't drink the water in this town. I'm afraid to. Yeah, there's something in this water that just makes people go stupid.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, the whole thing of panicking on this whole thing is just like, I mean, it's just again, it's like, and I said that I knew, I just had an instinctive feeling when that NBA cancellation that was a domino that's going to
That's a
start
world
this.
panic right now.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, and again, like you pointed out, look at just up there in Idlewild Film Festival. They have every year people from all over the world come, and now everybody's afraid doing this or backing out of it. It's probably not going to, even if they do have it, it's not, hardly anybody's going to show up. Everybody's afraid of the fear over this is just off the charts.
it is. It is. I mean, I'm here with a lot of the actors and film producers. Now I'm actually getting ready to interview this one guy right here. He's actually came out. I can relate to the film, and he came up with a film called Mother's Day's Memories. And where are you from? Los Angeles. He's from actually local here in Los Angeles, and I could relate to a lot of these actors that actually I met up with, and I'm actually met one actor here and film producer that he's actually gave me an idea to come up with my own short film called Gangster Gone Good. And this guy, he was a hockey player, started at 16, went into professional hockey, turned into drugs and everything. He's from Canada. He ended up being one of the Canadians' largest drug smugglers for marijuana, and labeled him King of Weed. And he was actually featured through National Geographic. And he's talking about how, his, lifestyle as a gangster was, and, how he went to prison, and then how he turned his life around. And then it goes into, the mental illnesses, because of the drugs and the drama and all that. And he turns that mental illness into a mental wellness. And now he's helping other people with mental illness, and he does a bicycle thing. He rides a bike all the way across the country of Canada, and now he's going to start doing the United States and helping people in raising, money and awareness for mental illness. So this guy's got a great story. So I could do a short film just on you, and your life. So.
And that's the
shooting
stuff.
that while we're here.
Yeah, and that's the stuff we should be talking about, not all this nonsense. And look at this is your dream is to make a film or something, or get into Hollywood, or you put together a little short documentary and you want to show it to everybody. And now because of this, hardly anybody's going to see it.
Exactly.
How are you ever going to get something? It's very difficult to get that stuff out anyway in this venue. And one of the few venues you have to take it, now they're taking that away from you.
That's right, because this film festival here, it really helps a lot of the independent, upcoming filmmakers out here. And, they're able to network with each other. And, I've seen these guys come up with all kind of ideas and come out and make big films, and get good awards.
Yeah, and that's what really breaks my heart about this deal is all the stories like this are getting affected, or maybe the guy or gal that could have had the opportunity, or maybe discovered, or maybe their film would have been picked up, are not going to get picked up, and we'll never see it because of something stupid like this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree with you, and this is the worst year we had. Last year, we dealt with a lot of rain and everything. That kind of slowed stuff down. And the year before that, we had a good outcome. It snowed the whole time everybody was here, but we're going to pull through it. The people that run this festival, they're strong. We always have Plan B. So we're going to make this happen.
When we look back on this, it's going to add to the list. This is going to be the one in 2020 that everybody panicked about. That nothing, and not to discount the people that do lose their lives over this stuff. That's a tragedy and all that. But in the grand scheme of things, like I say, 18,000 cases in the United States that people have died of the flu, and 26 over this, and we're having a mass panic over on this. I don't get it. You got about a minute left. Tell them about the film fest for the folks that do want to. Hopefully, we'll go out and see it, or anything else going on in HEMET or HEMET News. You got a minute left, Jetty George.
All right, I'll make it quick. Well, I want to give a shout out to Trinity Houston and her assistant Jody, we call him Jordy, really cool, great guy. And Becky, they really put their heads together to get this thing out. We're still previewing until Saturday, so everybody can still come up here and get it. You can also go to myhemetinews.com and just search for hashtag IIFC 2020, and that'll bring up any videos that I posted on HEMET News on our social media page. We got all the interviews. I've been interviewing all these fine people from different countries and previewing some of their films in the interviews, so you can go check them out. We do ask everybody to share the videos, comment that you shared, and every day we're going to be picking a winner from the shared list and giving away 2 free passes for a whole day pass to see any movie that you want all day long. So y'all check us out. We're on Idlewild iNews on Facebook, also HEMET iNews. That's HEMETEYEnews.com, and also on YouTube. And I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I know it's getting late, and I got a lot of work and interviews to do. This is Eddie George, that crazy guy with that lazy eye, and I'm getting out of my chair. And Roy, I am now off your air.
You got it. We'll do it again next Thursday with Eddie George of HEMET iNews and great folks at that. B&M Auto Parts, right? The timing of this hysteria is very coincidental. I agree.
You guys got 1 minute.
That this is this whole thing is just ridiculous. Mark writes, and seems like every time there's an election, we have a new disease. Well, wait till we spin in the bottom of the hour on this. We're going to go through it. It's not even election year. It's every year they have some sort of squirrely stuff on that. It's just that we seem to be going more crackers over it here in 2000. I mean, this is about, this might even be even worse than Y2K in 2000.
30 seconds.
People were going, people were hoarding stuff back then, but I don't remember. Could possibly be, Jesse might remember this. Were there fist fights and stuff going on, and people hoarding stuff by the gazillions over Y2K? There was.
Here we go, guys. 10 seconds.
Yeah,
families and LEOs. See you on the radio.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
That's live guitar music on a thankful Thursday or Thirsty Thursday or any kind, very rainy and wet Thirsty Thursday. On iNewswire Daily, as we come in every day, Monday through Friday, as we swing into KMET, the Mighty Met 1490, where Sean puts us out all over the broadcast airways over the Inland Empire, and producer extraordinaire Jesse sends us all over the world and beyond on iNewswire Daily on Facebook and YouTube. We had Eddie George of HEMET iNews on, and we're talking about the Idlewild Film Festival that he's on and the effect of this absolutely nutty madness that's going on here about this coronavirus. I mean, like I said, to update those who are joining us on the Mighty Met 1490 coming in, just after the show, about 6:30 last night, the NBA season canceled, or the NBA canceled their basketball season for the rest of the year, and that tipped off. That was the domino that started this madness. I mean, events are getting canceled. Disneyland's closing at least till the end of the month. Businesses, and as Eddie George said, they're having their Idlewild Film Festival up there, and it's affecting them. People are not coming. It's affecting, now it's trickling down to the small events and everything else, and the hysteria and hype are going, people are just going crazy. So roll up the list that we have that's been circulating all over the internet. But I want to reemphasize that because we're going to start with Y2K, as we did at the top of the show. Y2K, year 2000, when we had the the changing of the clocks from 1999 to 2000. Everybody said, "Oh, all the computers aren't gonna, they're not updated to do that." The electricity's gonna stop flowing. Ships are gonna crash into each other's. Airplanes are gonna fall out of the sky because the air traffic control system's not gonna work. The water, no water. We're all gonna starve to death. Blah 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 blah. Not one. Not one documented case ever of anything that happened over Y2K. I remember the late Art Bell used to come on at 12 o'clock midnight on that. He used to do Coast to Coast AM, was originator of that. And he was all over that like white on rice. Oh, he had guests on every day or every evening. Well, I guess it's technically the day at 12 a.m., the very early morning of that, and was hyping that stuff up, and people were working people up into a frenzy. Nothing happened. Roll up the list. Every year since 2000, this has probably happened every year. 2001, anthrax is going to kill us. 2002, West Nile virus is going to kill us all. 2003, SARS is going to kill us all. I guess nothing happened in 2004. Maybe sanity broke in. 2005, the bird flu is going to wipe out civilization as we know it. 2006, E. coli ate the bad economy. 2009, swine flu. BP oil is going to kill us because we had a oil well break in Texas. I said, you know what? Mother Nature knows oil is a natural product. Mother Nature will take care of it. Obamacare will kill us all. Well, that might possibly do it. The Mayan end of the world is going to kill us. North Korea in 2013, Ebola in 2014, Disney measles and ISIS in 2015, Zika, fake news, migrants Carvanus, the measles in 2019, and voila, coronavirus now is the newest and latest and greatest that's going to kill us all. People, calm down. There's 198 documented cases in California. I think, one or two deaths, 26 in the United States. 18,000 people have died from the regular flu, and nobody's having a panic because they do every year. As I said, China, Italy, they don't wash their hands, they don't put their mouth over when they cough, they have bad hygiene, they crap where they eat, and everything else. So when this stuff starts, yeah, they're going up. And the average age of the person who's died in Italy, which is up to 1,000 or whatever, is 80. That means half of them are older than 80. It is not affecting the kids so far or anybody else. If you're old and you have a weak immune system of that, well, yeah, if you do have that problem, that. But all this mass panic that's going on, or hysteria or stuff, I mean, it's just, it's mind-boggling. I mean, are we losing our collective balls all around everywhere? You can't, I mean, there's a concern. I'm not saying there isn't a concern. We should be concerned about not spreading it. But our government, like we did with Eddie George, our government, CDC, Seattle, where this first broke out, they're unprepared. They don't have that. You're killing the supply chain, not only with the toilet paper, but of the swabs and everything else that they do have for testing it. They were prepared, like I said. This is what you want. You want the government to handle everything. This is what you're going to get. They are incompetent at doing that. You need to take care of yourself. Like I said, this oil of oregano. It's what I do. Put a little drop on your tongue, like that. And there's a little bit of sting. Big deal. Garlic. It's got ampicillin in it. You ever heard of penicillin? That's where they derive what is known as penicillin. It's from the ampicillin in garlic. Eat a few raw cloves of garlic. Another one of my little miracle cures. Cayenne pepper. Squirt a little bit of that in your coffee, tea, or whatever every day or every time you do that. People wonder why I very, very rarely ever get sick. This is the reason why. And plus, I'm not worried about Y2K to anthrax to Zika or whatever the hell else they were coming up with, or global warming, or all this other crap that they've been coming up with that was going to kill us all, or we're going to do that, or well, first we were going to freeze to death. Then now, the polar ice caps we're going to freeze to death. Then it was the polar ice caps are going to melt, and the water's going to be higher than the flood of Noah or whatever it is, 11,000 feet over Mount Whitney. If you were lucky enough to climb it to the top, you would be the last person that would drown because of all this other. Don't believe all this stuff. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. And we're going to get into another reason. And this is the reason why I'm not worried about this stuff or panicking or doing that. You yourself, that destroys you. You will actually weaken. I'm not a medical doctor or give legal advice, but you actually, in my opinion, you weaken your immune system when you sit there and worry. Go study it. Ask a medical doctor about that. We're going to get into some more insanity or higher eating hose because it's not going to kill my joy of this last election starting on March 3rd. And I called it. I think I was the first one to call it where everybody else was. Everybody else is now calling Prop 13, the $15 billion school statewide bond, done. History. It's over. Measure A, $715 million in the Riverside Community College District, down to defeat 57%. Measure B in Beaumont is losing 2-1. 60% on Measure E in Jurupa Valley is going down. 7 of the 8 school bonds went down to defeat in Riverside, San Bernardino County, and all that. To explain that and to explain why, the real reason they're trying to do this, and I hope maybe it's because some of the explanation guys like Jason Hunter, myself, and Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, a few of us, Alley, Missouri, and stuff like that, have been explaining to you what's really going on behind this. We'll give you the story behind the story, but Jason Hunter, welcome back to the show.
Hey, great to be on. I'm actually calling in from a Riverside City Council meeting where you can only use 1 out of every 6 seats. They've been 5 seats out of every 6 have been cordoned off spread coronavirus. But the nice part about it is, Roy, there's only me and maybe a couple other people from staff down at the meeting anyway, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yes, yeah.
Just in case that the chamber was going to be at capacity of 200-300 people today. Yeah.
Well, yeah, if we'd have known that, we should have all showed up down there just to see what they would do if 300 people showed up. Well, what are you going to do? Oh, if we stand outside and do this, or what are you going to do?
Maybe they were thinking that the Budget Engagement Commission was going to be at full capacity in council chambers today.
Like I said, with all this coronavirus stuff and the panic breaking out and all this stuff that we covered earlier, I'm not going to let it stop my joy of that, or I'm not going to stop living my life over unwarranted fears of anything else. But as I laid out on that, and you can touch on anything you want other, but, and I think people are finally, like I said, yesterday, people are finally getting woke over this stuff. And I think they're fine, even though they might not understand the details, they're feeling it in their pocketbook every day where they're getting less and less money and the big hand of government's wanting more and more of them. And they're thinking, not no, but hell no on this stuff. But a few of us know the real backstory behind all this and why they're really trying to come up with it. And it's not because of the kids or public safety or anything else. Clue us in on the details.
Yeah, so I'm actually down here at the Budget Engagement Commission, and one of the items for discussion, and the one I want to talk about, is the whole idea that we're thinking about contemplating issuing pension obligation bonds, which would be, taking a loan out from private investors, taking a big chunk of money. In this case, they're considering $300 million in pension obligation bonds that we paid back through the general fund revenues, which means you'll have less for services over the next 30 years. But the nice part about it is it allows city politicians to kick the can down the road. It allows financiers to take their chunk of cash and probably bond counsel, et cetera, to get their fees. And it allows the employees to get at least reasonably sure, given the bankruptcy decisions in San Bernardino, to get their pensions. But what does the public get out of it?
The bill.
So everybody's figured out a way to get what they want, except for the general public is really just getting the bill that they'll be paying. They're stealing from future generations in order to pay not the liabilities of today. These are liabilities that occurred 20, 25, 15 years ago, and locking themselves into what I would call a hard debt with structured payments, when currently they have a soft debt. They have a liability. They have to pay it at some point in time, they think, or else declare bankruptcy. But right in front of what seems to be a surefire recession now because of this coronavirus, locking in a hard debt, they're considering it in front of a recession when their revenues will start plummeting, and now they'll be locked into a hard debt they have to pay or declare bankruptcy. So now it's come down to, are we willing to risk bankruptcy as a city in order to pay pensions?
Well,
to the city of Riverside.
And this has been my fear of something like this happening, and some unforeseen incident that throws the economy into a peril. And we've talked about it, and a few others. All this during this recovery, and usually up to and I don't remember historically, for 6 decades now. Governments usually, when the economy's doing good, they build up reserves. They have plenty. They have. They're not out there asking for money or having discussions about unfunded mandates or we're short this. It's more like, what road project do we need to do? In this recovery, most local governments, especially in California, have had this discussion of, we're running short of cash and this and that. One thing. That is a very bad sign, because they should not be having those discussions right now. If we were in a recession or like we were in 2008 through 10, 11, yeah, you can understand that. You should not be having these discussions now. But the reason, as you said, and you so eloquently said it, it's not that these debts they're proposing these in the future. These are obligations they committed to us to for 5, 10, 20 years ago, and now the bill is coming due, and there's no money to pay for it.
Well, I would say that the liability has actually been growing for the last 10 to 20 years, but just not recognized. And so by not recognizing it, previous councils benefited from being able to kick the can down the road. And now we're here, and we've got a new city council here in Riverside who is contemplating kicking the can down the road further, as opposed to doing what they need to be doing, which is fiscal austerity and actually reining in some of these out-of-control personnel costs. And so if you look back at what happened with these pensions and what happened with personnel costs across California, I think what you'd find is, if you really looked at the all-in costs of how personnel costs were exploding during the 2000s and even post the Great Recession, I think you'd find that folks were getting raises just well in advance of what anybody in the private sector was making through not just their salary, but their benefits, and particularly in their pensions, because they weren't recognizing the liability. And if you went back, if somebody really smart and had a lot of free time went back and looked at what the actual true raises our public employees here in the state of California have been making over the last 10 years post-Great Recession and 20 years, I think people would be quite shocked, actually.
Well, the last statistics has probably been growing, and that was that was like, I think, in 2017, 16. The average, and this is the average public employee was making 67% more in salary and benefits than the average California private sector worker.
We've got a situation here where on Tuesday at the Riverside City Council, we are taking the surplus. We've had surplus budgets here for the last couple of years. We've accumulated about $9 million in surplus revenues, about $4.5 million each year. And we're going to take that surplus revenues when our trees haven't been trimmed in years,
Yeah.
maybe a decade, our streets are literally falling apart. We're considering cutting our goals towards public safety personnel in the city. And we're going to take that $9 million plus, and we're going to stick it in an irrevocable pension trust that once that money goes in can only be used for one thing, and that is to pay off pensions. Meanwhile, the city infrastructure is falling apart around us. And I keep thinking to myself, are city governments a service agency or are they an employment agency? Because they sure seem to be operating as employment agencies. And I think, when the city can't get its act together on performing basic services, then quite frankly, I'm not sure we need a local government.
Yes, it is. It is incredulous of what's going on with that, and they're doing that, and even
And
that
if we choose to have a local government, Roy, then I think that we should just start over from scratch. Quite frankly.
Well, pretty soon, and you mentioned it, and I don't even think that. What is Riverside like? The last numbers I remember, and you will know more. Wasn't it they were like $60 million just cash short on paying their pension obligations?
You're saying as far as the budget deficit or their unfunded pension
Yes.
liabilities, I guess is up over, the last time I saw the numbers, and I think it's still selling it short, was about $650 million.
Right, but I mean, of that, of what they owe CalPERS and they're short of and can't or don't have the money to pay on their obligation that, like you say, they've been kicking down the can is something like $60 million.
Well, it's a total of $650 million.
Right.
That's their unfunded pension liability. Now, what they just went over today at the presentation, sort of what we're paying annually on to the pensions for fire and for which is considered safety personnel, and then there's non-safety personnel. And I think we're projected pretty soon to be up over 50% of payroll of what we pay in current payroll will be going out the door in pension costs. And for safety personnel.
And that does not hire one firefighter. That does not hire one police officer of that. And you wonder what this is the reason why they're talking about cutting these deals, because at 50%, half of the money's going out to paying people that are sitting at home or vacationing or whatever, moved up to Utah or whatever. They're not doing anything. They're not.
Well, I think it's more like a third, Roy, if you think about 50% versus 100% going out personnel, but it's still significant, right? It's still that money cannot be deployed for current needs. And you've got a city that is, and the trend is that it's going to get worse. And you've got a city at that point in time that's working you're paying taxes to pay pensions.
Yes.
You're not actually paying taxes anymore at some juncture for really much of any service.
Again,
maybe the dire emergency.
Yes, in the study I saw in 2022, all school districts in California, 28% of their budget were going to be paying pensions and benefits for retirees. And at that point, they said practically every school district, and that's only 2 years away, folks, is going to be bankrupt.
Well, yeah, there'll be a limit at which the services will be cut to such a point.
Yes.
My guess is it'll be worth taking the city from the city councils or the legislative bodies of these different agencies will have to, have their come to Jesus moment and realize, this is not sustainable. There's no services being produced. And because of that, folks' quality of life is going down, which then creates a mass exodus out of the state by those who are paying taxes, which you can't recover usually for a generation or two. And look at the city, look at what's happened in cities nationally like Detroit. Look at what's happening currently now in the city of San Bernardino, which, by the way, I'll mention that pension obligation bonds had a big part in the ruination of the city of San Bernardino. It's what happened in Stockton as well. Pension obligation bonds helped blow up the city of Stockton. But here we are sitting in Riverside considering the same alternatives, going down the same road because people don't seem to learn from the past.
That's it. Like you say, the old definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different result. Hopefully in this stuff, people are getting woke because of the information and work and hard number crunching and research that guys like you do each and every day that goes unrecognized in a lot of stuff. So I want to give you big kudos for that. Keep up the good work. And if there's anything else, you got about a minute left to say it.
Well, I think my reward comes in from the fact that it looks like the voters are waking up. We saw on March 3rd bond propositions across the state sailing in numbers we haven't seen around here, certainly in the 10 years that I've lived in California, and from talking to other people, even much longer than that. So it does seem there is a point at which the government can only take so much before the pain threshold gets so high that the general public wakes up and starts defeating these messages. And my guess is this isn't just these bonds were defeated so badly and routed that it's not just the public saying we're tired of bonds. My guess is there's more to it than that, and that's that the public is tired of current leadership. It's a rebuke of current leadership, and my guess is anyone trying to pass anything that's a revenue measure in the fall here is going to have a very upward climb, and hey, that's music to my ears.
Yes, same to me. Thanks for being on, Jason, and we'll have you on in the future as events warrant, and we know those events are going to come.
Take care, Roy.
You got it.
Bye-bye.
And that's what I'd like to point out is that of all this stuff. I mean, there's even of the hysteria is going on coronavirus. It looks like if this throws our economy into a recession, a artificial recession over nothing, because of the cancellation of this, people losing their job or income or going on that business is closing and stuff. The situation we're in our public agencies are in a much perilous situation than we were. Let's go back to 2007 when we were riding that wave. And they had plenty of money, or, they had a lot of reserves, at least like in Moreno Valley, Riverside, and a lot of cities and school districts had reserves to tide them through those, tough times in 08, 09, 11, 10, and when we start turning it around in 2012, 13. Well, they don't have that now. And on top of that, they have these mandates that are going on. So as full circle as they pull it around, this is why all this stuff works together, and why hopefully with this stuff you should we'll give you the education, but a lot of you should pay a little more attention like you have. You did a very good job of rejecting the school bonds and the tax increases, but as Jason Hunter said, if there's revenue measures that are coming, pay attention. Go down to your local school boards, city councils, county board of supervisors, and say, what have you been doing to us? And what are you planning in the future? Because we can't pay the freight anymore. And if you've been squandering the money or trying to hide it or been dishonest with you, then you should be honest with us and tell us why. Tell us the truth. In order to fix a problem, you must first identify it. If you, as Jason said, if you keep kicking it down the can down the road, when that can finally hits the wall, then it's a very much dire situation. The quicker you deal with the reality of the situation, the quicker it's going to turn around, and that's the bottom line on all of this stuff, like coronavirus and everything else. Let's deal with reality. Let's focus in on what is. Those that are at risk, those are the ones we need to take care of and watch out for. Those of us not at risk, we should be living our daily lives as we normally do and not upsetting the wheels of society like we're doing. It's been a great broadcast day on that. Thanks to Eddie George for coming on in HEMET News, as he usually does on Thursday, and Jason Hunter for being on, and all of you folks that are listening in on the dial and commented on there. We read a few of them. Maybe we'll pick up some more of that going on too. So tomorrow on a hopefully Fast Friday, we'll be in with Stephanie and Steph to review some of the news, views, and fun stuff that goes on in the IE News. See ya.